This episode, we are going to discuss about the twin rumor. There's a twin rumor that, on one hand, that Inspector General Police Kanja is leaving, and on the other hand, is that Charles Owino Ligabo is going to be made the Inspector General Police. I want to make a holistic opinion. By this, I want to mean that I want to give out the picture of both the positive of doing that and the negative of doing that, the tribal card and even the political card. One thing I want to talk about is, I don't know Charles Owino's age, but he's not young. Not young. When I was attending my inspector's course, I think that is the time when him and Japheth Koome were recruits. When I was attending inspector's course, I think that is the time when around that time when both were recruits. Around that time, first and foremost, I would want to say that we should not have stopgap inspector generals. We should also not have stopgap deputy inspector generals and even the director of CID. I would want to wish, if I had a say, I would want to wish that the four positions, the director of criminal investigation, the two DIGs, and the IGP. I think in future they should think of somebody who can work there for a long time. If I'm saying that with the background that if you look at the police, in the beginning, police commissioners used to stay on their job for a very long time. A person like Hinga stayed as a commissioner of police for a very long time. A person like the director of intelligence, the first African, James Kanyotu, he stayed over 30 years. We should have police bosses, especially at the level of the three deputy inspector generals and the inspector general. We should have somebody who stays there for not less than 5 years. Not less than 5 years. Okay, I know the constitution has a time limit, and also we should have that. This thing of placing people strategically, actually, if there's going to be a change, it is going to be strategically placed with a view of the 2027 elections. Remember, some things I'm very fast to the gun, but lucky enough that a good number of it I'm always proven right, a good number of them. And I do believe that, knowing President Ruto the way I know him, is that he uses any opportunity for political gains. Whatever he's going to do, he's going to do it for political gain. I would wish a situation where the constitution, those days, the president had powers. I can give you an example of when Ben Gedhi was sacked. Ben Gedhi was called to the State House. When he went to State House, he was they exchanged bitter words with the president because all police bosses, I can tell you, in their heart of hearts, they would really wish, to work under the conditions that Hinga used to work. There is no police boss in Kenya's history who has had a very good working position like Hinga. There was a time when there was a problem, security problem, and President Kenyatta, Jomo Kenyatta, found Hinga playing snooker in a Nairobi club. He told him, "You are just playing here and the things." He said, "No, no, I've placed there competent." Just then, Jomo Kenyatta told him, "It is up to you. I've told you, in case anything cooks up, that is up to you." It is good. I also believe that it is a bit hard to convince Ruto. Ruto, I don't think Ruto can work like Jomo Kenyatta and even Mwai Kibaki. Jomo Kenyatta and Mwai Kibaki. These are presidents whom they gave you a work and they left you to do. They just told you these are the results we want. This is the result I want, and then they leave everything to you. Jomo and Mwai Kibaki have that history, but I don't believe that Ruto has that. Ruto is the type of a person, he gives you the work and he microfinances it for you. And that is one of the problems we have, or we may be having, or we will be having. I would want a future Inspector General of Police to work for the number of years that are placed there. We have come up, the new constitution came up because they were doing away with that. The new constitution wanted people like the Inspector General to work independently of any external. They were only to be guarded by the circumstances and the law. But if you see the way the Inspector General and his deputy, the way they are being overruled, it's like Murkomen is the Chief Inspector General. So I would want the next Inspector General or future Inspector General to be free to do his or her work independent of any political persuasion. I would also wish an Inspector General and deputies to work for quite some time. It is just the other day. How many months? 25. It's not even 30 months since Japheth Koome left. Although he left, Japheth Koome and Mutiambai left in a certain way, but we would want to have a situation where the Inspector General is appointed or is installed at an appropriate age, so that he works or she works in such a way that we can be in a position where we can say so and so was this way and so was that way. That is generally that. If it is true, first of all, I want to say that of all police bosses, I tend to believe that Kanja is one of the best. Kanja is one of the best. In his league, we can say we have somebody like Bernard Hinga. Hinga was that way. Gethi was not good. Gethi was replaced by Njinu. Njinu used to fear, let us say all others, but all other commissioners were used to look over their shoulders, or they used to be careful with anything they utter in public. But Hinga, from Hinga you come and find who? There is the last commissioner of police who was, I'm forgetting his name, but he was a Meru. He was the last Inspector General of Police who handed over to the first Inspector General. Him also was very good. He was very good, bearing in mind that he took over from Major General Hussein. Hussein was militant, and Hussein was also playing to the cards. But I can say that my teacher, my law teacher, Mr. Nyaseda, was one of the worst. Mr. Nyaseda was one of the worst. That Mr. Nyaseda was one of the worst. He was meant for the director of CID, but then he was played, because you can have just look at the current director of CID. The way he acts is okay, and I'm sure he's the only person who is retiring on merit because he has expired his days. But these other issues I'm not happy about. But if you look at the director of CID, of DCI, imagine if you were to be the Inspector General. No, he could not. So I would wish the next Inspector General work there for maximum time and they appoint somebody still very young. I also want to say that removing Kanja, you are giving Wamunyoro what do you call firepower. Wamunyoro will start saying that wanatoa watu yetu ya mlima. But Kanja is elderly and whatever. But why was he taken there in the first place if his age was approaching? That was very bad. Although I've said he's one of the best. When General Gola died, General Gola died in those areas of Chesegon, Chesegoch, Lelan Hills, Cheptulel Hills. When he died, people are saying that Ogola had been taken out. No, I tend to form an opinion that Ruto prefers working with people from Kalenjin. Ruto appears to be somebody with a soft spot for his people. If Ruto would have worked under the old constitution, I'm sure he would have surrounded himself more and more, several times, maradufu. He would have surrounded himself maradufu with Kalenjin people, but the constitution maybe forces him. So one of the reasons that made me, two of the reasons that made me feel that Ogola's death was an accident was that I know the Cheptulel area. I was in charge of that area in 1985 from the Pokot sub-county. And around 1990, I was the deputy Elgeyo Marakwet boss, so I know that area. I also know that Kenya is a recipient of old machines. Somebody who wants to see. There was even a time when the US government was agreeing with the Iranian government that US government sells Iranian some aircraft, and then the old aircraft that Iranian was supposed to dispose of, they give it to Kenya, and then US gives them. What do you call that type of buying? Where you take an old vehicle to the garage, then you add some money, and then you are given a new one. So there was that agreement that Iran was to get aeroplanes from America, and then replace it with their old ones, and then the old ones be brought to Kenya. So Ogola's death had to do basically with Ogola's death basically was connected to an old aircraft going to a very dangerous place. If you have been to Seker Hills, if you have been to what do you call Kokotendwa Hills, if you have been to Cheptulel Hills, that is a very dangerous place. And people are just saying, no, he has been killed because he's a Luo. And if you look at the way, the arrangement that Ruto had made, if you can remember, I've just said that Ruto is more comfortable with people from Kalenjin tribe. If you can look at it, there was Kimutai. I think Kimutai is now a vice chancellor, one of the universities. He's a vice chancellor with the National Defense University. He's a naval officer. What had been planned by Ruto mathematically was that Ogola was to retire in 2026. When he retires in 2026, he would be replaced by a naval officer. And by then, Kimutai would have been a major general. When Nani died, when Ogola died, Kimutai was a major general. But if Ogola would not have died, Mutai, or is it Kimutai or Mutai? Mutai would have been lieutenant general and he would have taken over. So that is the reason that made me be convinced, apart from the knowing the area like the back of my hand, that Ogola was not taken out. there was a plan to have him there. Even right now, I do not rule out the possibility. Do not rule out the possibility that Ruto really wants this DIG Lagat to be the IG, but it is really bad. It is really bad. Of course, you can do what you want to do. If you have powers to do, you have influence to do that. But Lagat is the last person I would want to. Lagat would be the last person I would want to be the IGP. First of generally because of him being connected to what is the name, Ojwang's death. Actually, he should have just resigned honorably. He is not different from the naval officer who's called Mutai. Mutai was meant to be the CDF, but God had his own plans. So I think Eliud Lagat should have just followed the same by not by honorary resigning at that very same time. But he has kept on. Now let us pray that he keeps on until the contract of the DIG ends. I would so wish that he just keeps on. But you see, if you can look at it, there's something that was done. There is a young man, to me is a young man. If my father would have been alive, he would still be saying, huyu mtoto ananisumbua. There's a young man, I'd mentioned him here, is Anyonge. Yeah. Anyonge has worked in the CID. He has worked in the stock theft. He has worked with the GSU. He started off with the GSU. Then went to stock. We then went to a police station. Worked in a crime branch, which is like CID. And nowadays it's called anti-crime. He has worked with anti-crime. Now he's the county commander, AP Narok. You see, such a person in future, uh, I'm trying to remember, because if I say that, people would say because he's a lawyer or because he comes from Kaburengu, your home. But let me say this. I know him because he's a lawyer. I know him because we come from the same village with him. But there are so many Anyonges there. He's not the only one. There are so many Anyonges there. We have so many police officers who have worked in all departments. Now, if you can find somebody like that one, not necessarily him, but somebody like that one, to be the inspector general, he knows what an AP constable feels. He knows what a GSU officer feels. He knows what a stock theft fellow feels. He knows what detectives feel. That should be encouraged. And I think that is also what is happening, was what Ruto had in mind with Lagat. Because Lagat basically is a CID man. He's a CID man, but then he was taken from CID, made a small stopover in GSU. So right now, if Lagat is made an inspector general, it would have completed the work, because apart from AP, he has worked in all formations and he knows that. But he has attainted he has attainted Ojwang story. Another thing is, I'm not comfortable with a person like Lagat being the IGP, because he comes from Tarbo, and when he comes from Tarbo, his place to Kamagut is a walking distance. It's like, for those of you who know Madera, just like Rigiji and Kanja, the current Kanja IGP, they come just from near the same place. Actually, I'm not for that idea, for powers being centrally placed in one area alone. We should have even somebody from Mandera. And people, if you ask me who is the person whom I would go for, let me tell you, gentlemen and ladies, rumors are going that Charles Owino Ligawa will be the Inspector General. I have no problem with him. I'll talk about him. But sincerely speaking, if you are to ask me, if I were the only person to decide, I would take Seda, George Seda, Nairobi regional boss. I remember even when Eliud Lagat was voluntarily went on leave, I sent a message to Seda. I've known Seda. I've known Seda for a long time. I've known Seda from the day Seda was working at State House, Nairobi. I know he's a competent person. I know Seda, if I were, let me say, all police officers who are serving right now and whatever, and even in the past, if I were to be the only person to choose the person to take over as the Inspector General, I would choose I would choose Seda, the Nairobi area boss. He has worked with the GSU, he has worked in all departments, and is conversant with a lot of things. I would sincerely choose Seda. But anyway, it appears that a decision has been made because of, Seda is a background player, and Nani being a former police spokesman, uh, Charles Owino and me, we have something in common. I think Charles Owino loved police when he was in standard one, just the way I was. Me, I loved police from standard one, first May of my standard one, Labor Day. So even when he left the police, there's a time he was being interviewed on TV and he said that he still has the police identification in the department that he's working. But now I think I have to talk about Charles Owino Ligawa. He's better than the two deputy inspectors generals. He's better than the two inspectors. But then we should have even somebody else like Seda. Hmm? Anyway, or others. When I say Seda or when I say Anyong, I'm not trying to say that. We have several of them. So Seda, Owino, uh, I know Ruto. No, Ruto can never. Just if you want Ruto even to lose an election, if you want Ruto to be irrelevant, don't bring a topic. Let let there be tranquility in the country. Let there be tranquility. Because every time he talks, he criticizes wale jamaa sijui nini nini. But if Ruto completes a week out of the news, out of the headline, I'm very sure that is the. But if you challenge him, he'll use whatever weapon you have used on him to gain political. Like now, we have said the reason why Lagat cannot be there, but Lagat, if Koome was told to go, I don't see why Lagat should not have been called secretly to State House. And you see, it also brings out this picture. Arab Lagat continues being the Deputy Inspector General in the government of Arab Ruto. It gives a bad pictures, even if we say that there's nothing wrong with even your village mate having the qualifications, but it gives the wrong picture. But then, when it comes to Charles Owino, even when you hear me all the time talking of Seda, Ruto would really jump up to the idea of choosing Aluo as the Inspector General of Police. Let me tell you one thing, that is between me and you. There's no third person. Between me and you, tell me that Talanta Stadium being called Raila and Omolo Odinga International Stadium, the Inspector General being Aluo. Do you want to tell me that actually you may even find that Luo Nyanza, in a number of percentage, they vote for Ruto more than any other place in the country. That is why I was saying that do not give Ruto any opportunity to advance himself politically, and he really used that opportunity. You can see Speed was here. Speed was asking, who is Ruto? Who is Ruto? and Ruto was already welcoming him, placing the minister for what do we call tourism there, ready to receive him, such things. So Lagat we have eliminated. When it comes to Masengeli, Masengeli is from my area. Masengeli is a Bukusu. The name Ochwateng is a Bukusu name. Now Masengeli is good, but is not just too good for the position. You know, Masengeli is good, but is just not good enough. Is not good enough. Masengeli is not good enough, and APs. I've already recorded somewhere in the past that I would prefer Tonje rule to come to the police. Actually, if you look at the police, all the police, it is only the AP who have not been the Inspector General. I want to tell you that the framers of the Constitution did not want the Inspector of Police, the Inspector General of Police to be a police officer. They wished, if you look at the Constitution very well, and if you talk to those Kina Professor Mutava Musimi, they'll tell you that the intention was that the DCI is headed by a director, the two DIGs, but the Inspector General of Police, they wanted somebody with a qualification of being a lawyer. But you see the salary that the Inspector General is earning, the uniform, the whatever, hii maneno kukaa kama askari. How many people are qualified to be a judge of the High Court can accept to be the Inspector General? That is why it was so much open that anybody, but specifically, that is why they say that somebody who has worked in a public service in a certain position, it is a clever way of accepting human rights lawyers to head that. That is how. And then they said that if you want to be the DIG AP, you have to have worked with the AP for not less than 10 years. And if you wanted to be DIG for general duties, you have to have worked with the general duties for not less than 10 years. But when it came to Inspector General, they placed it wide. They placed it wide. But on my part, I've always believed that the Tonje rule should be there. Because if you look at most police officers, DCI, even if it is an equal department, it is over the same level with the GD, the head of CID countrywide and the head of general duties countrywide. They have the same rank. But you'll find that they are all Kiganjo people. They are all Kiganjo products. So we should have a situation where it rotates like in the CDF. But I've studied the AP since the new constitution, and I still believe that AP still are Askaria chief. Askaria chief. I've even tried to communicate with I've communicated with very senior police officers at a personal level, going there, placing there my input on what changes I would want. But Masengeli still behaves like an AP, like a tribal, no, not tribal police, but a chief's police. So I think with the time going on, in the future it should be that way. And if you ask me, Charles Owino Ligawa is better than the two DIGs. After all, they used to be his junior. Even the Inspector General used to be his junior from way back. So we could not say that it is somebody who stagnated somewhere. And is also somebody who suffered politically, because there's a time he wanted to be the governor of Siaya, and none other than Raila himself worked against him. But I would not really want him to. I don't know why when he was taken to a parastatal, he still retained the police, whatever. Is somebody, we should have new faces. We have so many. One of the reasons why the Tonje rule works in the army is that if you have somebody like Mulinge working for, somebody joining the army when Mulinge was the boss and retiring when Mahamud was the boss, is what led Tonje to come up with these rules. Tonje came up with these rules so that at least people are give others. I would have wished for new faces, not Charles Owino, but hey, I'm stuck, like a record. I hope the president, because it appears from what I'm seeing, you see, there was a time when police officers used to put on the rank of brigadier, and the military refused, said they cannot allow anybody to put on the rank of a brigadier. When they said so, when the what do you call the press heard about it, and the press went around trying to ask, they asked Boynet, the inspector general, and said, "I've no comment." We asked everybody, no comment. Like now, when they are being asked, are the two bosses going? Is the director of DCI going? Is IGP going? They asked the IGP. The IGP said no comment. Murkomen said no comment. When you hear senior government officers, especially the security side, saying no comment, well, let me tell you what the comment means. That comment means this is a very serious topic that I am not allowed to talk about it. And it is quite possible it is true. So, oh gosh, if only I could meet Ruto, I'll just tell him Seda should be good. Seda is fit, but you see, Ruto may also look at it that way, that with Seda as IGP and Talanda Stadium being called Raila. But to me, that is not what I'm trying to say. I have interacted with Seda since he was in the presidential escort, working at State House up to when he was at Kabete, and he is fit.